In Tunisia and Egypt were willing to die in the streets for it. This is why our grandparents and their generation fought for the idea of democracy. So when people talk about wasting your money on an election, think about it. There's certain things that you have a right to decide, and nobody can make that decision, and politicians shouldn't be making those decisions for you. For example, in the last 6 years, we've had over $120 billion in corporate tax giveaways to the big corporations. That's been an official policy. Now, the New Democrats are not against giving breaks. Tax cuts can actually work very well. We saw that with flow-through mining shares. You give money into investment into mining, and people go out in the field, and we discover jobs. That's a great investment. We have a plan to give $4,500 upfront to small businesses and a tax incentive to hire people, because half the businesses in this country are small businesses and they don't get a lot of breaks and they're getting squeezed by the HST. So you give those tax breaks to people who are creating employment. But if you just year after year take the federal capacity away by giving breaks to the big banks, are you seeing a benefit? Because this past year alone, $800 million in the corporate tax breaks went to the big banks because they're so financially well off. And then you wonder why these guys have so much money that they can give their CEOs such massive bonuses. That's a choice that's being made. Now, at the federal level, when we take $800 million out of federal revenue and we give it to the banks and then they give it to their CEOs in giveaways, they got to make up that money from someplace. So they make it up from you. In the last year, in Ontario alone, you paid an extra $880 million every time you filled up with gas, just on the HST. So that's a choice that was made. So I would say to you, do you not want to have the right to make the choice about who pays and how that paying is done? Because these are vitally important questions. And I was thinking another thing about this situation in what's happened in Tunisia and in Egypt and what's going on in Libya. To have a functioning democracy, you need three fundamental pillars. One pillar is you need a professional civil service. You need a civil service that is there to represent the workings of government for the people of the country, so that they're not toadying up to the powers that be, that they're not just kissing up to the political bosses, but that they're representing the best of the people of Canada. So a professional civil service has to have its own watchdogs. It has to have accountability. And what we've seen with Stephen Harper is some of the best watchdogs have been hounded out because they run afoul of the little dweebs with the little blackberries running behind the Prime Minister. Linda Keane on the nuclear safety, she got booted out. Richard Colvin, one of the most respected diplomats this country has produced, ridiculed and trashed as some kind of Taliban traitor because he spoke truth to power. We've seen this again and again, where the watchdogs that are supposed to represent your interests at the civil service level have been attacked by this Harper government. The second thing you need for a functioning democracy is you need a House of Commons that actually works. And the Commons, of course, you know, that comes back to the House of the Common People. It's our house. So it might look like a monkey house on some days. And, you know, it might not be the best behaved house. And, you know, I know many teachers who tell me they don't want their kids to see what's going on in the House of Commons. But within that debate, that is the house that belongs to the people.